So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Of course, we'll let everybody get on. Uh, Everybody is slowly but surely getting on. So, welcome. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. Already, we're blowing through this week and last day of June today. I can't believe it's 4th of July. I think we have to travel all the way to Rancho Santa Margarita to watch fireworks. We don't have them in my neck of the woods in Ladera Ranch. They didn't order them on time, unfortunately. So we're ready to have some fun. Of course, it's strange having 4th of July on a Sunday, which means I guess we're not supposed to work as hard the following day on Monday. Anyhow, let's go ahead and begin. The stragglers will just miss some of the fun photos at the very beginning. And oops, it says spring fun photos. I meant to update this to summer fun photos like I have for other presentations. But this is a great photo. I have to share this stuff because it's unreal. I can't believe that people still had their homes like this. This was actually a townhome in San Diego. As you see on the bottom, it says San Diego MLS. So yeah, that's in San Diego. And this is more of the green. So green was the theme throughout this whole entire place, from the carpets to wallpaper to everything. You could see the kitchen countertops green, and even the furniture, lamps, everything green. At least they were consistent, right? I think the patio chairs in the back were green. This is just wonderful. I had to share it because I found this morning, and I usually don't share a whole bunch of the same photos from the same place, but man alive, seriously, that's incredible. How about this? Then we have, I guess, an afterthought. I don't understand. Just weird. Always get these random photos. How about this? This is a wonderful carpet. I guess they're Scottish. I don't know. And this is just weird. We come across all different things in real estate land, and here we go. This is a sink where you're scratching your head, going, "What is the purpose of this?" It absolutely makes no sense. Okay, but what are the stairs for? I like another green, but do you see the stairs in the background coming out of the tub? Don't understand. Then this is just funky. This was a foreclosure, and somebody snapped a photo of it, and yeah, ugly. How about scientists invented a bracelet that converts stress to energy? Realtors got a lot of energy, got a lot of stress. Buy at top of the market, wait for crash. This seems to be the thinking of a lot of buyers. So that's why I included this, because it's funny and it's not funny, because this is what we deal with. And that's why we need to get them the housing reports for Southern California that we put together. Well, let's get into a brief introduction. And here we are. Yes, quantitative economics, decision sciences major from UC San Diego, 30 years in the business, Orange County native, Capitol Valley High School grad, 9 kids. I'm an avid runner. I brought the 6 on the right. My wife brought the 2 on the upper left. I adopted her. She adopted mine. And we have Zeke, who is 3 years old. And we've been all over the press. Our company's Reports on Housing, your local real estate snapshot. It's not about diving into closed sales data and talking so much about what's happened in the past. Instead, we like to talk about what's going on right now so you can properly plan for the future. What's going on today: supply, available number of homes for sale; demand, a snapshot of the last 30 days worth of escrow activity. And from supply and demand, we're able to get you how fast this market is moving. What is the market time, our expected market time? Open up escrow. Place your home on the market. When are you going to open up escrow? And our reports are used for the listing presentation, as well as price reductions, as well as getting buyers off the fence and into escrow. It's about making more money, closing more transactions, properly setting everybody's expectations so that they can make the right decisions, so that we're not wasting a lot of time. Setting expectations is very important. Data is power. it doesn't matter how long you've been in the industry. If you're brand new, this is a great report because it makes you sound like you really understand what's going on in the marketplace by rattling off data. But it's also very important whether you've been in the market for a real estate agent for a couple of weeks to years, because it really does. It's a great tool in your tool belt to explain what's going on today and to properly set expectations, get those price reductions, and it does help in being able to articulate kind of what you're already feeling and seeing in the marketplace. And we have reports that dot all over Southern California. They LA, Orange County, Riverside, San Bernardino, and San Diego. We're now looking at expanding up to the Bay Area next, and the reports since the last time I did this update for the SoCal housing update is there's been actually 3 reports. The start of June is housing unaffordable. Went into why it's not yet unaffordable, even though we see values so high at $1.1 million for a detached home in Orange County. I mean, it hit 7 figures, and every county we're seeing the median price just soaring upwards. Another one that came out was summer transition. This was a couple weeks ago that this thing came out, and we'll talk about what I mean by a summer transition. And then the one that came out on Monday for Southern California along the coast is top 5 trends. And San Diego got theirs last night. Orange County, LA got theirs on Monday. And then next week, San Bernardino and Riverside will get their top 5 trends as well. And go to reportsonhousing.com, click on subscribe. They will send you out the most recent one, the top 5 trends. And at the bottom of the email are a bunch of links, and those links are used for copy, cut, edit, or this is actually printing it out, the PDF, then copy, cut, edit, paste for the Microsoft Word. We have Excel spreadsheets for nerdy people like myself, excerpt for publicly facing websites and social media blogs, that's the type of thing. We also have a ton of charts that we update, and we update these things every 2 weeks. We also have a infographic piece and different JPEGs for social media posts. And it's $15 per month or $150 per year, intentionally inexpensive on purpose. So you think about it when you're going to Starbucks and you just spent $11 for you and your significant other versus getting the housing report, which will really augment and help your businesses. So you get a month free if you utilize the coupon code Sunshine. And so that's the coupon code Sunshine. And so we're not going to go into a whole bunch of things because each one has plenty to talk about. And so what we're going to talk about is the changing housing trends and too much noise. So the changing housing trends, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in housing. And this is, of course, we're in a very insane marketplace right now. It's been insane for a while. I cannot compare this market to any other market that I've ever participated in. I've been doing it for 30 years. I'm a 3rd generation broker. At this point, this level of appreciation is absolutely unhealthy. And we'll get into what the latest, the Case-Shiller CoreLogic index is showing, and it's showing what you'd expect, that values are continuing to surge upwards. The Southern California housing supply, this is the number of available homes to show your to show your buyers. On June 24th, that was last Thursday, it was at 18,449. That was up 5%, or 818 homes. It's actually increased by 818. Last year, we were at 28,226. That's 53% more than where we were last year. But last year, we had already peaked. Usually we peaked during the summer, but it was a COVID year, and there weren't a lot of homes coming on the market between March, April, May, and June. More started coming on in July and August, but it was almost too late. Our inventory just kept on depleting. But if you compare it to the 5-year average, that really gives you a benchmark of where we are today. We need to be at 40,000 homes. Shoot, at this point, I'll take 30,000 homes for all of Southern California because we're only at 18,500. The 5-year average is 124% more. So it's double where we are today, more than double. So we need seriously to go up in the number of homes available. And as far as the housing inventory is concerned, good news is we've been up 20% since April 1st. And that's an extra 3,054 available signs today than on April 1st. That's a significant number. And yes, I just showed you 18,500 is not enough, but I'll tell you, back on April 1st, there really weren't enough homes on the market. So we're heading in the right direction. I'm super jazzed about it. I'm hoping to see more homes come on the market, and that's really what it's gonna take, these kind of jumps in order to get us back to where we're not as crazy as where we were before. So as far as Southern California demand is concerned, of course, it is nothing short of absolutely nuts, crazy. And this is the snapshot of the last 30 days worth of new escrows. And if you see, this is where we're at right now. On June 24th, that's last Thursday, 19,132. It went down 3%. It downshifted. We lost 540 pending sales in our 30-day basket of new escrows, and you could see. So it started to come down a little bit. And last year we were at 20,155. That's 5% more than where we are today. That's 1,023 more homes in escrow compared to where we are today. If you see that, this is actually the first time since June of last year where this year is less than the prior year. So we are actually dealing with fewer homes in escrow right now compared to last year at this time. But if you look, see the demand curve last year, the green line, we didn't have a spring market. So the spring market really did not occur till summer. So we can expect for the rest of the year for the demand for Southern California to be less than last year. And this will be true for all Southern California counties. And the real reason for that is because the summer of last year was spring. The summer market or the summertime last year was our spring market. Then in the fall, we had our summer market. And then by the time we got to the holidays, it was still a really hot market. It was more like an autumn market than really a holiday market. So COVID-19 totally skewed the data, so we can't really compare this year to last year. And instead, we're looking at 5-year averages. And if you look at the 5-year average, it's 7% less than where we are today. So you can see where we are today is still elevated compared to where we typically are at this time of the year. So that's good news. And but within the last 2 weeks, it was the largest drop of the year as far as escrow. If you take that basket of the last 30 days worth of escrow, so you can see demand is dropping. It's the largest drop of the year, and it's actually gone down 4% since the end of May. This is not giant, but it is a trend that we want to consider that will continue, and there's reasons for it. There are 757 fewer escrows than at the end of May. So you can see, yes, the activity is coming down just a bit. And I'm jazzed about that. You're saying, Stephen, why are you so excited about less escrow activity? I just need to see a transition in this market, a slower pace. This pace is way too hot. So to get elevation in inventory and to get demand to come down is the right thing that I want to see for the long-term health and viability of the housing market. So how fast is the market going right now? Well, basically the expected market time, place your home on the market when you're going to open up escrow. So what is the expected market time for sellers today if they place their homes on the market for all of Southern California? And on June 24th, it was at 29 days. It was up 2 days in the prior 2 weeks. So in the middle of June, we were at 27 days. Now we're at 29 days. This too is a trend that is going in the right direction as far as we need to see this come up, because anything below 40 is insane. And we've got some work to do. We've got to get above 40, and which that is for all of Southern California. There will still be some markets that will be higher. LA is one of those markets that's a lot higher compared to the rest of Southern California, but everything is moving in the right direction for all Southern California counties. It is slowing down a notch because right now, remember, we're just too hot. 5-year average is 70-day expected market time. We're at 29 today. 5-year average is 70 days. And that 5-year average throws out last year, because I told you can't really compare last year. And it looks at 2015 through 2019. And that's where we get that 70-day mark. So as far as what is that market time, it's up 6 days since April 1st. So it's going in that right direction. We were at 23, now we're at 29. So it is definitely moving in the right direction. And I'm jazzed about that, of course. And so let's look at another trend. And a lot of people don't understand this, but there really is an economic cycle, a housing cycle that we are following this year. We didn't follow it last year, and we even follow it in the hottest of years, and we're following it this year because it's just the nature of us being humans. It's part of society, and we do have seasons. We have spring, summer, autumn, winter. I actually call it spring, summer, autumn, holidays, and winters. There's an extra season in what I track and I talk about quite a bit. And this is so we're in summertime. And the summertime is when we have the inventory climb and we have demand dropping. So, and we're getting both of those right now. And we getting those in spades. It's happening in all of Southern California. You're hearing about it across the United States, and they're calling it something else. They're saying that it's people that are balking because of high prices, and that's not the correct story. It's summertime. We do this shift. It's a seasonal shift, and it's when the kids get out of school. We have a kid in soccer, 2 kids in soccer camp right now, a kid in cross country camp, and we have swimming lessons going on and things like that because the kids are home. And so are those distractions of the kids and travel. We've camped ourselves. We're going to go to a VRBO in Utah at the end of July up in the mountains. And sports is back, and amusement parks are back, and summer fun and play in the pool and stay cool is back. And this is that shift that we have. And then when the kids go back to school, we'll shift again, and it'll be the autumn market. It's not the best time of the year. The best time of the year is the spring. The spring is the best. And then we shift. We get to the summer, and then we shift again, and we get to the holidays. And then we shift again, and we get to the winter market. That's about right around the end of January through the middle of March. And yes, there is a season for winter. We don't necessarily have the winter as far as snow is concerned, but not a lot of people place their homes in the market. They wait until the spring, but demand starts to surge. Then we get to the spring market. That is typically when demand continues to surge and peaks, and the inventory tends to rise. It didn't rise much this year until we got towards the to around May, but that had everything to do with the number of homes coming on the market. But we're still experiencing that normal downshift now that we're into summer right now. In Southern California, closed sales year over year. If you see this, in May of 2021, last month, we were 18,889. That's 91% higher than the last year, which is that green bar way down below 10,000. It was at 9,024. And that's not a whole heck of a lot of closed sales last year. And as a matter of fact, what's shocking is look at that red line. So that's 18,000 where I'm pointing to. And that is very, very comparable to the purple line, which is 2019, and the orange line, which was 2018. So we didn't do a great number of closed sales compared to the prior year. Now, in the month of April, we did. That was the highest number of closed sales since 2005. But that's not what happened in May. And a lot of people are going, uh-oh, what's going on? Only 0.5% higher than 2019. A 7.5% drop from April to May, and that does not happen. And so people were there was a lot of stories, there was a lot of headlines, and the gossip factory took over and started talking about this shift in the marketplace. And it's because we're getting too expensive, because values are going up. And you know what? They're right. Values are going up. And if you see this on the right-hand side, this is actually as of this last week. And you can see right now, it is the highest point. It is the highest increase. And if you look at these increases over time, It's right now at 15%. And the national index has never been this high. They had the composite 10 and a composite 20, but then they did this national index, and the national index has never, ever been this high. So just understand that we are pumping across the United States, and it is very, very hot. And a matter of fact, it exceeds 2013. We're almost at 15% appreciation year over year. And you're thinking that's great, but the velocity of this is not changing. And the reason the velocity is not changing is because we're not getting that change in interest rates, because we saw that that's what happened from 2013 to 2014. So 2012, 2013 is that what I circled on the left. And then we got higher rates in 2013, and appreciation started to slow. That is what we need. It's either values get too hot or too high, or interest rates go up. And I don't want values to get too high, because then we let all of the air out of the future gains of housing all at once, rather than we bring the interest rates to where they need to be, which is between 3.5 and 3.75%. We would be at 3.75% if it wasn't for COVID. At 3%, we're just continuing to heat up the market. And this is all on the Federal Reserve at this point, because they've been monkeying with our marketplace by buying our mortgage-backed securities. They need to do something. But you know what? Fear sells. So everybody talks about, oh my gosh, the values are going up too high and it's going to create something major, a big giant problem. And of course, if this was a real problem and this was keeping buyers from purchasing, we would see it in the closed sales numbers. They think that that's what happened from April to May, but that's not necessarily true. Because if you look at CAR's numbers, and this is through May, you can see in the month of May, 70.7% of all closed sales in the month of May in all of California sold for above the asking price. So we still have so many offers that are generated on properties that it's selling above asking price. So that just tells you that it's not that people are shying away from homes because values are too high, because they're still selling for above asking price at this point. That's not what it is. Instead, you want to look at the different trends, the trends behind what's really going on. And what's really going on is there's not enough homes on the market, not enough homes coming on the market. The big thing is, where will I go? Everybody knows they can get plenty for their home, but then where will they go? They also know how hard it is to purchase in this environment today. Everybody is acutely aware of that. And so many people homeowners are fine with just sitting back and watching their equity grow. And then also understand that as interest rates go up, people have refied to these low rates. They don't want to leave these low rates that they've already locked into for 30 years by purchasing a bit more of a home, but having a higher rate. And this is going to be more of a problem going forward. So the number of for sale signs compared to the 5-year average for all of Southern California, well, for the first quarter, it was off by 10%, or 6,947 missing for sale signs. And keep in mind, in December of 2020, we had more homes that were placed on the market compared to the 5-year average. And that was in the midst of COVID, which is why I do not believe at all that the end of COVID is going to create a number of homeowners that place their homes on the market. This has been a story that a lot of people have been telling themselves, but this is not what I'm seeing. And instead, during the first quarter, we had 10% fewer homes come on the market, 6,947. During April, we had another 11% missing, 2,770. In May, we had 13% missing, 3,381. And through the first 2 weeks of June, we were down 11%, or missing 1,594. So if you get the point, there aren't enough homes coming on the market, and yet we keep on depleting everything that's on the market, which is what's bringing our inventories down. There's nothing on the shelves, and so in turn, the limited supply is limiting the number of escrows and sales. We could be doing a whole lot more sales, but I do want to just set everybody's expectations. We're still having a phenomenal year. If you look at 2021, and this is across the United States, this is the number of closed sales. This is done by, I believe, somebody at Freddie Mac that does great charts. But if you look at 2021, it beats 2020. It beats all years, 2017. If you keep on going back in time, the last time we had this many closed sales was in 2006. That was the only time that it exceeded where we are today. So that just shows you kind of how strong our marketplace has been. All right, but let's get into too much noise. And too much noise is really what I want to talk about. And what that is here's the noise that you hear: inflation, lumber prices, oh my gosh, interest rates, forbearance, bubble, crash, affordability. I'll get into some of this, but what the bottom line is, fear is what sells. When I do these YouTube lives and Facebook lives, and I do different things, articles on crashes, on bubbles, on foreclosure waves, and things like that, I get a lot of action because everybody is fearful of that type of thing, and those are the headlines that sell. So if those are the headlines that sell, what do you think writers are writing more about? Those type of things. And we have, even in the Orange County Register, they talk about bubbles all the time, and they have a bubble scale on a scale of 0 to 5 bubbles, and rate everything on a bubble scale. And that just puts in everybody's mind that these bubbles, crashes, and this has got to come down type of thing. So fear is what sells. And this also, buyers are hoping that that's what happens secretly in the back of their mind because they haven't been able to purchase. They want everything to come crashing down so that they can buy when it's at a bottom. And what's making things worse is everything that you see. There's different Facebook Lives, but there's definitely plenty of YouTubes that you can search on all of this. And if you look at housing crash, Ken McElroy, he's been wrong for about 6 years now, talking about different crashes that should happen. Most of these people that are talking are investors, and investors are not economists. Their investors have done well with buying investment properties, and that's what they're good at. That's what they should focus on. That's what they should be talking about. But a lot of them get over their skis and start talking about what's going on in the economy, what's going to happen in the future, and they keep on falsely calling out different things that are going to happen. And so it just feeds that gossip factory. And I'm telling everybody to ignore all of that noise that's out there. COVID-19 really is the culprit of what has happened and what we're experiencing today in a lot of different fronts in the economy. And we're in uncharted waters at this point. We never before closed down the entire economy. And where, if you remember, you couldn't even go to a lot of stores. Everything was just all boarded up. The stores now closed, that type of thing. And we were told to stay at home. And then we went into the supermarket and started hoarding everything that we had. My supermarket, I actually took photos, looked very, very similar to this. It was just ravaged. And everybody, it wasn't just toilet paper, it was everything that everybody was stocking up on. We learned how to social distance. All of our kids went to online classrooms, and we learned how many times we touch our face in a minute or an hour or whatever. I just did it right now. Washing our hands. We learned how to wash our hands. Who knew it was so long that you had to sing happy birthday twice? Who was doing that before? Yeah, surgeons and my kid from Montessori. They really teach them how to wash their hands when they're little. And then amidst all the shutdown, we got the first quarter statistics came out, and it was already negative, and we knew that we were headed into a recession. Everybody was starting to get negative. Everybody was thinking, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. I had professional agents contact me and tell me how they've been in the business for a long time, how the values are going to go down 10% within the next 90 days, that type of thing. And then we had the GDP come out for the second quarter, and it was super duper negative. It was the worst on record in the United States. And you want to know something? We adapted. And the numbers, you need to rely on the numbers. The numbers didn't prove out what a lot of people were worried about. They were worrying about nothing because they weren't looking at than numbers. And that's when I started the Facebook Lives, was back in March, at the beginning of the pandemic. And the whole reason for that was to properly set everybody's expectations based upon what we're seeing in the data. And it wasn't as bad as what everybody was saying. And I was still calling for appreciation at the beginning of of COVID-19. And we adapted. We could sell real estate, and we adapted. We could put kids back into schools. And then the GDP for the third quarter came out, and it was the strongest on record. So we had the worst quarter on record in the United States history. Then we had the best quarter on record in the United States history. And then we started to get, even though we had this surge, the second wave, we got the vaccine news. All the vaccine news was coming out, and everything was looking looking hopeful, even though we were in the midst of the worst of the pandemic back in November and December and January. And then GDP, you can see on the right-hand side, has totally improved. We're back to above where we were before. That is the true gauge that they're going to call the end of the recession. They do this afterwards. That they haven't yet said officially that it's the end of the recession, but it's quite obviously the end of the recession is back in the rearview mirror. We opened up society again. In California, we are opened up completely as of June 15th. And and then a lot of people are talking about the Federal Reserve and the fact that they are printing money, but they had to do this to get us to the other side of this pandemic. And yet, when they did that, we started hearing all these inflation numbers, and these inflation numbers sounded bad. People were comparing it to the 1970s. And once again, everybody's head immediately went to the 1970s, and they're not following the data. They're not peeling back this inflation to figure out what is really causing this inflation. And the inflation, when you peel it back, did you know that used cars were responsible for a third of all the inflation from last month? A third of all the inflation from last month was just the spike in used cars. And the reason they spiked was for a number of reasons. We didn't have enough new cars, and they couldn't build them because we didn't have the microchips. There was the supply chain shortage. And then we had car rental agencies. They had depleted all of their inventories. So their lots weren't as full. They didn't need as many to rent out. So they got rid of everything. And as a result, they are now purchasing cars again, and they can't buy enough new, and they are trying to buy as many used as they can. They can't buy enough to replace their fleets because travel is back, and now they're stuck. So this is a temporary problem that we're having because they got rid of everything because of COVID. Now travel's coming back, and it's not like travel's going to go away anytime soon. So it's only going to continue to ramp up. This will fix itself in the long term. So short term, the inflation that we're talking about here and in a lot of different areas is definitely transitory. When I pull everything back, there is a reason for everything that has gone up. It doesn't mean that we're not still seeing food prices and different things go up. Yes, we are going to see some of that. Some of this stuff is going to stick. A lot of people say, well, look at gasoline prices. It has absolutely nothing to do with COVID. That has always been this price fixing thing, and it's something that they've been trying to work on. And we needed gasoline prices to go up so that it showed that we were on the pathway of a recovery. And that typically is what happens when you get gas prices that go up. It shows that the economy is starting to churn, and it's actually a good sign. So a lot of this is transitory, and that's because we've had this short-term supply chain problems. And that's a lot of truckers were fired or furloughed, and a lot of factories, they got rid of everybody. And now that everybody is coming back online, not all the workers are coming back, and we don't have as much in the transportation side of things. So everything is a little bit is kind of broken, and slowly but surely it will right itself and fix itself, but it's going to take time. And you've heard about the lumber shortages, you've heard about the global chip shortages. Well, lumber, I don't know if you've been following this, but this is a story that nobody is hearing about because we definitely heard about this on its way up when it peaked in May, and they talked about how expensive it was and how they had to cancel a lot of contracts because lumber prices got too high. They canceled contracts in the new home arena because it was going to be too expensive to build homes, and they were going to charge it to people, the extra expense, and a lot of contracts fell out, that type of thing. So we heard about all the negative things of lumber. But did you know that lumber has come down to where we were in January, in the middle of January? And even this is as of this morning, it's come down even further. And over time, where is it going? It's going down further and further to get us to where we were prior to the pandemic. Now, where it was before was right around the 400 range, somewhere in the 400s, low 400s, and now we're at 721. But look at, if you see where this was, it was as high as 1700, and you could see it's come down. It's already shed about 1,000, and so the commodity of lumber has come way down. You're not hearing a lot about it because that's positive news. And what sells? Remember, it's negative news. Everybody used the chart when it was going up and talking about how the market was going to implode, housing was going to implode, and now everybody that relied on this one chart, which is what a lot of people do on YouTube, is they rely on one chart, and they can see that it is transitory at this point. It's been nothing but a yawner. Every time we talk about inflation, you could see if investors were really worried about inflation, you would see a change in behavior for them. And they would not park their money in long-term assets like 10-year bonds, 30-year mortgages, that type of thing. They would instead go, I want something short-term because I want my money is going to do a lot. In the short term, it's going to go up quite a bit if I do short-term stuff, not long-term stuff. But you can see this, the 10-year treasury, which is where our 30-year mortgages kind of, they go in sync with this, have done absolutely nothing since we talked about all of this, all of the inflation. And if you see this is from August of last year till about April, end of March of this year. And you could see that it's been going up like crazy. We actually had interest rates that got all the way up to 3.18%. But then what happened were 10-year treasuries actually have floated down, and they've continued to float down, and they've remained right about 1.5. And that's where they are today. They're not changing. So investors are also convinced, and after looking at everything, that the inflation is very transitory, that it will go away. It will be juiced for this year, but it's going to go away as we fix all of these supply chain problems that we're experiencing out there. So this is where we are on the right-hand side. And you can see that usually what happens when we have inflation go up, that we have a change in the 10-year treasury, which ultimately you have higher interest rates. And you could see with inflation, that's on the red line, that's the CPI inflation rate. Compare that to the 10-year treasury yield, and the 10-year treasury yield saying, I don't buy it. This is not real inflation. This is temporary and transitory. So it's not really following inflation like everybody thought it was going to. And forbearance and foreclosures, there's a lot of people talking about it, but my big question is why? Why are we going to have a lot of this big foreclosure wave that people are talking about? And I'm here to tell you that as far as forbearance is concerned, this last week to this week, we decreased from 3.93% to 3.91%. This thing has continuously been going down since I've been tracking this. And I've been tracking it every single week since June, when it hit its height, and it's at 2 million people. 2 million people with loans are currently in forbearance right now. 4.3 million people were in forbearance in the month of June. So you could see we've come down quite a bit since then. And I'll tell you, there's been over 5 million people that have gone into forbearance at one point or another total. So 5 million borrowers have utilized it, and it's down to 2 million at this point. The national delinquency rate, which is what you could see would feed a lot of foreclosures, this is the delinquency rate is that dark blue line, and you can see where we're at. It went way up, it spiked up, and everybody is saying how it's going to get worse and it should continue to go up, and they were wrong. It went way down, and it continues to go down, and it is right now gone down to levels where it's very similar to 2015. Now, I've always said that we're going to come out of forbearance, and it's going to be numbers that we will get increased number of foreclosures, but it will be numbers closer to 2016 and 2017, not anything like what we had in the Great Recession. In 2016 and 2017, you can't really even, there's just not that many foreclosures. If you have somebody that's looking for a foreclosure, they're going to be bidding with somebody else in order to purchase it. And there have been 7.2 million people that have gone into forbearance. There are this is actually done in April, so we're down to 2 million now. So it was in 2.1 million forbearance in terms extended, 34%. That's how many people were in it when this is done by Black Knight. 6 million people left forbearance. And this is what I want to kind of talk about. 3.3 million removed and performing. That's 55%. 365,000 are delinquent in loss mitigation. That's only 365,000. So 55% are performing. 3% are delinquent. Delinquent and loss mitigation means they're trying to work it out, and they'll probably work it out with some sort of a repayment plan or modification of terms and all that stuff. Paid off 20%, 1.2 million. So you could see the vast majority of everybody is what? Either paying it off or removing and performing. So as far as this wave of foreclosures that everybody's talking about, it's just not going to happen. There's way too much equity. As a matter of fact, it is 96% of everybody in forbearance today has at least 10% equity, which means the vast majority are just going to be able to tap out, sell their home, and not be a distressed foreclosure or short sale. So as far as a housing bubble is concerned, you need to rely on an economic model. You just can't talk about it. And the economic models that I wanted to point to are supply and demand. And we talked about what's going on in supply and demand. It's not where we had this big credit boom that caused all of this, where all of a sudden it was super easy to get credit, everybody got loans. That, as a matter of fact, has not been that big of a change over the last year. And as a matter of fact, it's starting to go down right now. So the trend is your friend in this, and you need to follow the trends. And this is actually taken from a newspaper article where the buyers said this. They just closed on escrow. We kept waiting for the market to crash, and it never crashed. So we decided to bite the bullet. And this was done, they closed a month ago. They're already seeing equity rises, and that's because they understand that waiting for that crash, they're just going to be sitting on the sidelines, and they're going to be permanent renters. And really what you got to peel back as far as are we exposed and are we in bubble territory is looking at affordability. And I'm only going to do this for Orange County because it would be too much to do it for San Diego. And I did a report on affordability for every single county, but this will bring home the point because as a matter of fact, Orange County is the most expensive county. So it'll be interesting to show you how still what I like to look at is incomes, as well as the median price, as well as the 30-year mortgage. You just can't look at prices because people like to compare it to other times, other points in time. And you have to look at what people's median incomes were back in the day. Because if you look at 1980, yes, we had 13.75% interest rates. The median detached home was only $108,000. But the median income was only $22,000, and the payment the monthly payment as a percentage of the income was 55% back in 1980. In 1990, we were at 10%. It was 50%. And that's why in 1980, we had interest rates finally came down so that values could go up and make it more affordable. But and we had little recessions here and there at the beginning of the 80s. In 1990, we had that recession that came out of the 1989, 1990 into a recession. And you could see it right here. That's because payments were too high. In 2000, everything was looking really good. We had 8% interest rates, and payment as a percentage of the income was 40%. In 2007, prior to the Great Recession, we were at 6.34%. You could see a $728,000 median detached home, and median incomes were $73,000. Payment as a percentage of income was 59%. We came out of the Great Recession in 2012, and it was at 33%. We had interest rates at 3.66%. And you wonder why we had a whole bunch of people flooding the market back then, because they had good incomes, interest rates were really low, and affordability was really, really strong. And the median detached price fallen all the way to $543,000. And if we look at 2021, we're at 3% right now. At $1.1 million, the median income is at $101,000. And this is based upon 2020 and 2021 are projected incomes, it's going to be pretty close to that because I've been on pretty on the money. Within about $500 is typically what it is. Payment as a percentage of the income right now is 44%. That might seem high, but it is not in the red stress zone of 50%. When you're 50% or higher for this, that is where it's a real problem. And mortgage, if you can see where we are mortgage wise, we're at 3%. We've had very, very low interest rates. And over time, we've had interest rates that are really low. In 1981, we had high interest rates. And what is the trend? The trend is low interest rates. The trend is not supposed to have 3% interest rates or interest rates in the twos. That was the COVID that brought us to that. But we were at 3.75% prior to COVID hitting. And that is where we should be, between 3.75% and about 4.125% is pretty much where I was seeing 4.25%, that type of thing. And as far as affordability is concerned, if we had interest rates that went all the way up to 4%, we still have payment as a percentage of income of 47%. It's not quite 50%. It's not yet in the red zone for me. And we're not going to get interest rates at 4%. And that is in 2023. This is what, who was it that said this? I believe it was Chapman University came out and said we were in a bubble. They said we're going to get to 4.75% interest rates. I don't even see it. By 2023, we could be at 4% interest rates. And yet we are going to have a median income of around $108,000 by then. And we'll be at 47%. So you can see it's within reason. But what has to happen is we do need to see the rise in home prices start to slow a little bit, to diminish. And as far as, do you think there's going to be a bubble? The answer to that is simply no. I do not think that we're going into a bubble. And if you look at it, the leading economists across the United States are stating, on average, over the next 5 years, we should go up 23% in values. And that's all economists. Some say as high as 34% within 5 years. Some say as low as 13%. But all of them agree that values are going to go up, given the current trends. They do not see the bubble that is in housing that so many people are just talking about without relying on data and facts. Really, what's happening with affordability is this. Mortgage rate sensitivity is changing over time, and we're becoming more and more sensitive to hikes in interest rates. And to give you an idea of what the mortgage rate sensitivity is like, is if you remember back in 1990, when I got into real estate, interest rates were at 10%. They were double digits. We cannot stomach a 10% interest rate, right? But that was what the normal interest rate was back then. Then we got down to 8% back in 2000. That was a much better interest rate than 1990, yet we can't stomach an 8% interest rate today. Prior to the Great Recession, we were at 6.35% interest rates right prior to it in 2007. And you can see at a 6.35% interest rate, we can't stomach a 6.35% interest rate. And yet that was a phenomenal interest rate according to time. Then we got all the way up to a 5% interest rate at the end of 2018. November of 2018, we almost hit 5%. And we saw that really slowed our market. Our inventory increased like crazy because not as many sales, buyers were walking away from stuff. And so the activity level slowed quite a bit. So our sensitivity rate became 5%. My argument today, by all my math, is our mortgage rate sensitivity today is now at 4%. 4% is where the wheels start to come off and things start to slow down, and we don't have as much buyer activity. And if we continue to go up at the rapid pace and we don't go up soon start seeing a rise in our interest rates, it's going to, if we see these low interest rates and values continue to skyrocket, our mortgage rate sensitivity is going to diminish, and it's going to become 3.75%. And if we keep on going at this clip through the spring of next year, our mortgage rate sensitivity will be 3.5%. So the sooner we get rates go up, the better, in my opinion, so that we can have a more healthy market and that we don't continue to appreciate at the ridiculous clip that we're going right now. So go to reportsonhousing.com, click on subscribe. It's $15 per month or $150 per year, and you get a month free if you sign up utilizing the coupon code SUNSHINE. and you can see sample reports on our website. And we do a housing debrief every Friday at 3 o'clock p.m. I talk about one specific thing, and it's about 30 minutes, 10 minutes of interviewing my kids. And it's on Facebook and YouTube. And now I can open it up to any questions that anybody has that's out there. If you want to do that, you can go ahead and pop it up in the Q&A section right now. And we'll go ahead and answer any questions that you have. So go ahead. I'll give it a second. If you have any questions, please ask away. I'll be more than happy to answer the question that you have. So fire away. I'll give you one more minute. But I do strongly encourage that you subscribe to the Housing Report, because it will make an absolute difference in your business. I'm right now adding the coupon code that I forgot to enter in here for Sunshine. It's in here. So if you go there right now, you can go to put in this coupon code Sunshine and you'll get a month free. I do have a question. There we go. How would you respond towards buyers who are hesitant with the low inventory and high house prices right now? It would be showing them, it would be getting them the housing report on an every other week basis, because it definitely paints a picture as to where things are going. And it talks about all the things that I talk about, not all at once, but in bite-sized pieces over time. Really, it comes down to that we have a strong demographic patch of first-time home buyers, and it started last year. It's this year. It's the next 3 years. It's really going to be a lot of people that are coming to purchase, the millennials. And so and they are expressing the desire to own. So that demand will be there. Interest rates will remain low. We were not going to get the interest rates to 4.5% or 4.75%, like what Chapman's talking about. And it's not going to happen anytime soon, if at all. And it's just one of those things that the longer you wait, the more you're going to be upset about it. You're going to be kicking yourself. And I call it the 1-2 punch. I'll probably do another report on it soon. And that's my terminology for it, is the 1-2 punch. And the 1-2 punch is this: waiting is not a good idea, because interest rates will rise. A, that's a problem. And B, we're having values continue to rise at a very, very high rate. So if you don't participate now and you wait down the road, you're going to be waiting for one thing and one thing only, for it to slow down. And the only time it's going to slow is when values are a lot higher than where they are today, and interest rates will be higher. So when are they going to jump in? It's just one of those things where they jump in too late, and they're going to be paying more for less of a house. And that is what I'm trying to get across. I'm not just saying that because I'm a housing economist, because if you remember, I talk about housing cracks. I talk about shifts in the marketplace, anything that's happening. As a matter of fact, I would like to see a shift where things slow down a bit. And I could say that out loud because I still think it's unhealthy. It's not unhealthy where it's causing a crash or a bubble. It's unhealthy because we've gone up for too long at too great of a clip, and it's making it so it's starting to price out some buyers where they're opting not to live here or own here and rent right now. Or I don't want to move there because it's too expensive. I'll go ahead and move to Tennessee. I just heard that from somebody that where somebody was looking for a home. They couldn't get what they wanted, so they're actually opting to live in Tennessee instead. So what is the expected house appreciation in San Diego County and OC for the next 12 months? Well, right now, what we're seeing is we've already gone up at a clip where it says about 15%. It's going to be very, very hard to gauge that. And that is as of 2 months ago. I think it's going to be even higher as we go forward. I think we're going to be seeing inflation of about 17%. At the current rate that we're going, we're starting to get to higher values where the inflation or the inflation in housing, it's not inflation, but the home price appreciation should ebb a bit. And but we're going to be at double-digit appreciation of at least 10% as long as we have these interest rates that hover around 3%. As soon as we get them back towards 3.5%, I'll go ahead and throttle that expectation back to almost half, probably 5 to 6% appreciation. But until I see that, this is more of what we're going to see. And as far as prognosticating exactly when we're going to hit 3.5%, it might not happen until the end of this year. I'm hoping it happens over the summer, because the sooner it happens, the better for the long-term viability and health of the housing market. So what are your thoughts about how stimulus money and extended unemployment have contributed to decrease in needs for forbearance, and that foreclosures may increase when stimulus runs out? I don't, yeah, it really, as far as that, you only need stimulus to get us to the other side of this. My argument is it needs to stop, because we're already seeing the number of unemployment and the number of job openings is almost a 1-to-1 ratio. And you don't get that unless you have an extremely healthy economy. It's right now 1.1 workers to every one job. And I just didn't include that because I have so many charts, but it's right now at a very, very healthy level, to the point where everybody's going to be able to go out there and most likely get a job, that type of thing. You also need to understand that the vast number of unemployment were not people that were homeowners. And the areas that are having the biggest problem with forbearance issues and people that could go into foreclosure are not in Southern California. It's pockets of areas around the United States that have had a problem with a demographic shift and people moving out of their area prior to COVID. And it was already an issue. They weren't seeing a lot of appreciation. Those are the people that are most vulnerable. And it's only a tiny little segments throughout the United States, and it is not a story worth even talking about. Instead, we're not going to get that wave. It's not going to come from people that are unemployed. The vast majority of those are renters, not homeowners. And most everybody can find a job. They're just slow to finding a job because everybody's being a little bit pickier and choosier, because they just don't want to go back to a job that they hated, or that they got paid so little. So there is pressure on pricing, which could put pressure there's pressure on wages, and that pressure on wages puts pressure on pricing. So you could start to see a little bit of an elevation, and that will be real inflation if we start to see that a little bit. But even that is only as we reshuffle the deck of all of the workers that are out there and get them back into jobs. Some of them will require higher pay. And when that happens, you'll see that trickle down in prices in some places. So there will be some higher than normal inflation for a little bit. But like we said, after everybody gets employed, that'll go away and we'll be back towards that 2% threshold of inflation. And how do you account for people moving out of California in your analysis? Well, the bottom line with so many people, these are all this negative stories that sell, and you can hear them sometimes in the different questions that we have, because that is a negative, a story that sells, that people are moving out of California. Yes, but there's still yet plenty of demand, and there's plenty of people that don't want to ever leave here, because we have fantastic weather compared to the rest of the country, and a great ocean and great things to do. And there's plenty of people that want to be here. So values more than anything else are pushing people out. It's not really politics, even though that is a thorn in a lot of people's sides. It's not the homeless, like so many people claim. And there are people that utilize that as excuses, as reasons to move and all that stuff. That's not what it is. The bottom line is it's very expensive to own a piece of property here in California. It's getting more expensive. It's going to make people go elsewhere in order to purchase. And yes, you have values that are going up across the United States. But when you're talking the median going up into the low threes versus the median going up towards $1 million, that's where Californians that have already been nurtured in this kind of a place where everything's more expensive, they can go buy so much more someplace else, yet they just don't get the weather. They don't get the same lifestyle that so many people have grown to love. And so you will get people that are going to be migrating. It will be a story that will not go away. And the net migration for the year for California last year was actually slightly negative, but it's not, I'm talking net migration, including babies being born and all that stuff, and illegal population growth, that type of thing. That the net was just this tiny little difference, and yet we were going up for so many years, and now it's kind of flat. And that has to do with us just being an extremely expensive state as far as cost of living is concerned. And let's see the chat. Do you think cash buyers and over asking offers is ruining it for millennial buyers? You know, I remember thinking that when I was the millennials age in the mid 90s, and I finally was able to purchase. And now looking back, it was a great thing to do. My thing is a lot of millennials don't want to do those different stepping stones of buying that condo or townhome. Millennials are smart, so they will get in at some point, whether it be that purchasing that rather than just dive right into a single family residence and you start your family, which so many people are doing, is at least getting a condo or a townhome. You can always then turn it into a rental down the road and get something else. There's so many different smart things to do. But yes, the high values are pricing people out. It's pricing people out that want to live here that aren't millennials. It's hard for just about everybody. So that's one of those things. So unfortunately, that is the repercussions of values going up too quickly, which I think is unhealthy, and I'm not totally in love with, and that will go away in time. So thank you, everybody, for hanging with me. Go to reportsonhousing.com, click on subscribe, and the coupon code is sunshine. You'll get a free month, and I appreciate you sticking around, and we will see you on the other side at the next update. And I just hope you have a fantastic week and enjoy your 4th of July weekend. Have a good one, and we'll see you soon.